When my house burned down, my family showed up, not to help, but to laugh. Finally, karma did its thing and torched the trash. My dad looked me straight in the eyes and said, "You brought this on yourself. Some people are just cursed." I just stared back and whispered, "Thanks for showing your true colors." That was 2 years ago. Just a week ago, I decided to take action. They weren't ready for what came next. Since then, they've been blowing up my phone, screaming, "You have to fix this. Please pick up." I don't even know where to start. But here goes. So, 2 years back, and honestly, I still think about it every damn week. I guess that's normal when life goes sideways in a way you never expect, especially from people who are supposed to have your back. Not that my family ever really did, if I'm being honest. But I always thought that when things got serious, they'd at least pretend to care. For some context, I'm Braden, 27 now. I moved out a while ago because my family, well, they're not toxic in the way Reddit loves to call it, just cold and competitive. Like, everyone's always trying to prove they're better than the next person. My dad especially. He's always been the big man, like everything's a contest. My older brother Carson is basically his clone, always preaching about responsibility and manning up. My sister Nicole, she'll smile to your face but screenshot your texts and share them with the family group chat later. Mom just tries to keep the peace but has perfected that "I warned you" look like an art form. Anyway, I scraped together enough to rent this old house. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. Quiet. I finally had my own life. The first couple months were good. My own routines, no one breathing down my neck. I didn't invite people over, no family dinners, just doing me. I know they all thought I'd fail, but honestly, I was fine with that. Kept my head down, paid my bills, sorted my own stuff. Didn't ask for help, not even when my car battery died and I had to Uber groceries for a week. Then one night, everything went sideways. I'd been up late, probably doom scrolling on my phone when I smelled smoke. At first, I thought maybe I left something on. Then the fire alarm went off and I knew it was real. I grabbed my phone, wallet, keys, didn't even put on shoes, and bolted out. The fire department came fast, but the house was old. By the time they controlled the fire, half the place was black. I just stood on the curb watching my stuff burn, feeling weirdly blank. I should have freaked out, but my brain was stuck on repeat. I called Carson because I didn't know who else to call. Surprisingly, he picked up. I told him what happened and asked if he could give me a ride or something. He said he'd come by. I thought maybe, just maybe, someone would step up. But less than 20 minutes later, my whole family showed up. Not just Carson, but Dad, Nicole, her fiancé, who I barely know, and Mom. They all got out of their cars, and for a second, I thought maybe they were here to help. But then Carson walked right past me, pulled out his phone, and started filming the house. He was laughing, full-on laughing. Dad stood behind him, shaking his head, not even looking my way. Nicole got out in heels, sinking into the grass, and said, "Wow, karma really does work." She started taking selfies with the house in the background, like she was at some influencer event. Her fiancé just stood there watching. Mom hung back, by the car, arms crossed, saying nothing. I tried to talk, but my throat was dry, so I just leaned against the mailbox watching. Carson kept throwing shade like, "Guess that's what happens when you bail on your family, huh?" And, "Some people are just cursed, man." Dad locked eyes with me and said, "You brought this on yourself. Some people just attract bad luck." I stared right back and said, "Thanks for showing your true faces." I didn't raise my voice, just said it. He shrugged and turned away. I guess I should have expected it, but damn, it still hit me hard. I heard the fire captain talking about insurance, but I wasn't really listening. Carson came over and slapped me on the shoulder. Not hard, but not gentle either, and said, "Tough break, bro." I pushed his hand away. He smirked and backed off. Nicole was going on about how she'd always known something was off about this place and how, Typical it was for me to have a house fire. Her fiancé tried to get her to leave, but she just rolled her eyes and kept snapping pics. I told her to stop and she said, "What? It's not like you're going to post them." I told her to delete the photos or I'd grab her phone. I actually reached for it and she jerked it away, then slapped my hand. I stepped back, didn't want to cause a scene, especially with neighbors watching. Dad started lecturing me about learning from this, how maybe now I'd see why family sticks together. I said, "Yeah, great family." He rolled his eyes, walked back to the car, and slammed the door. Mom finally came over, handed me a bottle of water, and said, "You should come home tonight." I told her, "No, I'll figure it out." She shrugged, said she'd tried. They stayed for maybe 15 minutes, just long enough for the fire trucks. Carson paced around, taking calls, acting like he was in charge. He told a fireman he was my emergency contact and tried to get info about the cause. I heard him say, "Yeah, he's always had bad luck with stuff like this." The fireman just nodded and walked off. When they finally left, Nicole slammed the car door so hard the whole thing shook. I just stood there watching the taillights. Some neighbors came over, asked if I was okay or needed a place to crash. I said I'd figure it out. I didn't want to owe anyone anything. The next day, I got a text from Carson. A pic of the burned house with a crying laugh emoji. I didn't respond. Nicole posted a pic of her and her fiancé at brunch, captioned, "Some people just can't help burning bridges." Mom called once, left a voicemail hoping I was okay, and to let her know if I changed my mind about coming home. Dad didn't call at all. I guess that's just how it is in my family. If you don't play their game, you're fair game. I was always the odd one out because I wouldn't take sides in their stupid feuds, wouldn't help Dad with his projects, wouldn't get involved in Carson's endless drama, wouldn't babysit Nicole when she needed a backup. I went my own way, and they hated it. They called me selfish, ungrateful, whatever. But when you see them standing in front of your burned house laughing, yeah, it hits different. I stayed with a friend for a while, worked out the insurance stuff, and found somewhere else to live. I didn't talk to my family for a long time after that. I kept thinking about how Dad looked at me like I was some mess he'd warned everyone about. I kept thinking about what he said. Some people are just cursed. Like, what did I ever do that was so bad? I didn't steal from them or screw anyone over. I just didn't want to play their games. That night, I promised myself I'd never let them have the upper hand again. I know how they work, what matters to them. I wasn't going to sit there and let them treat me like trash. Not anymore. I've got receipts, I've got patience, and I don't forget. That's part 1. Part 2 gets a lot more interesting, trust me. Update 1. All right, here's part 2. If you think I'm exaggerating, I wish I was. Maybe some people will think this sounds petty, but if you've had family like mine, you know it doesn't stop. After one bad night, they keep finding ways to remind you you're not one of them. You never were. And also, they're winning. Fast forward a few months after the fire. I'm crashing on a friend's old futon. Insurance is dragging its feet. Like always. I don't have much besides what I threw in my backpack that night. I'm not broke, just tired. Starting over is exhausting. Everything takes longer than you expect. Honestly, I thought my family would let me fade out of the group, chat and move on. But nope, that's not how it went. The weirdest part? They'd go silent for weeks, then pop up out of nowhere. The first time, to be continued. Maybe 2 months after the fire, I woke up to see I'd been tagged in the family group chat. It was a meme. Someone had edited a picture of a dumpster on fire and labeled it Braden's housewarming party. Carson reacted with a skull emoji, Nicole added a crying laughing one, Dad stayed silent, and Mom sent a sad puppy sticker that was about as much as she ever did. I didn't respond. Part of me wanted to mute the chat, but another part wanted to see what they'd do next. I also didn't want to give them the satisfaction. It was always stuff like that. Never direct, always some side-eye dig. On my birthday, Nicole texted me just one line. "Hope you're not celebrating with candles and mayo." Once, I posted a picture of my new apartment on Instagram, and Carson immediately commented, "Looks flammable." He deleted it a couple hours later like he wanted me to know he was watching but not give anyone else ammo. I started getting used to it, but some days it pissed me off more than I cared to admit. None of this was random. My family's always been like this with me. I was the one who said no when Dad wanted me to join family projects, basically unpaid. Labor for his hobbies. I was the one who called out Carson for talking down to everyone. I was the one who told Mom I wasn't going to keep playing nice with Nicole when she kept stealing my stuff growing up. They always acted like I was the weak link, the too sensitive one who couldn't take a joke. They liked having someone to kick around, something to gossip about at dinner. About a year after the fire, I got invited to Nicole's engagement party. I almost laughed. She sent the invite on Snapchat, not even a real text, with a line like, "Hope you can make it. Don't burn the place down." I left her on red. That night, the family group chat blew up with pictures, cheers, and even a poll about who was most likely to ruin the night. Carson voted for me, even though I wasn't there. Later, Nicole DM'd me a video from some fancy restaurant. She panned the camera over everyone, then zoomed in on the empty chair at the end of the table and said, "Guess who's missing?" Her fiancé joked in the background, "Bet he's hiding from the fire marshal." I blocked her for a while after that. I'd see Mom at the store sometimes. She'd act like everything was normal, asking if I needed anything. I'd say no. She'd say the family was worried about me. I'd laugh. She'd invite me for Sunday dinner, and I'd say I was busy. Sometimes she'd try to guilt trip me, mentioning how Dad wasn't getting any younger, or Carson's got a new job, or Nicole's wedding was coming up, and she wanted everyone there. I'd nod and keep moving. Neither of us ever mentioned the fire, and I didn't bring it up either. Carson was always flexing in the group chat, posting about his new car, mocking rental life, sharing pics of his backyard with the caption, "Home. Sweet home." For like a month, he even changed his profile pic to a cartoon of a guy running from a burning building, then switched it back. I never replied, but I did screenshot everything. At some point, I realized I was keeping a folder on my phone full of all the crap they sent. Every little slight, every meme, every accidental dig. I don't even know why at first, but it felt like ammo. Like I wasn't going to let them act. Like this never happened. Sometimes people outside the family would ask what really happened with the fire. I'd just say, insurance mess, moved on, whatever. I could tell they didn't totally buy it. One time, a mutual friend asked if it was true my family took selfies at the scene. I said, "You'd have to ask them." Then I got a text from Carson. "Stop spreading lies about us." I told him to mind his own business. He replied, "Maybe if you'd stuck with the family, bad things wouldn't happen to you." I sent a thumbs up emoji. He blocked me for a month, then unblocked me like nothing happened. I started being more deliberate about what I said to them. If they asked for help with anything, Wi-Fi issues, phone problems, random tech stuff, they always assumed I'd just do it because I owed them. Nope. I stopped replying or said I was busy or didn't know. They got annoyed and started making snide remarks in the group chat. Carson said, "Guess some people never learn gratitude." Dad said, "Well, you know what they say about burned bridges." I let them talk. Nicole's wedding was coming up, and suddenly she was texting me again, all friendly, asking if I could help set up her wedding website because her friends were useless, and she needed someone reliable. I asked if she remembered the fire. She said, "OMG, that was 2 years ago, let it go." I said, "Sure, I'll help." If she apologized, she'd send a dumpster fire gif and block me for a week. Her fiancé called me once, saying I was being childish. I hung up. Dad still never called. Mom left voicemails about missing out on family memories and told me not to hold grudges. I didn't call back. I saw Carson post on Facebook about family first with a picture of everyone at dinner except me. I thought about commenting but decided it wasn't worth it. I just kept collecting screenshots. One night, out with a friend, I got a notification. Nicole tagged me in an Instagram post. A cake with a little house on fire on top, captioned, "Happy Burnsery." I laughed, but it wasn't funny. My friend asked if I was going to say anything. I said, "Not yet." That's when I started thinking about how much leverage I actually had. All those times I fixed their stuff, set up their accounts, handled their passwords because they couldn't be bothered. All the favors I did for free. All the times I bailed them out when their stuff broke. I realized they had no idea how much they relied on me, not just for tech stuff. Nicole's wedding website, Carson's playlists, Dad's calendar reminders, even Mom's phone contacts. It was all stuff I set up, and none of them ever bothered to change or learn it. I wondered how long they'd last if I just stopped. I know it sounds petty, but if you've ever been the family joke, if your pain is entertainment, you get it. At some point, you stop playing nice. You stop waiting for them to get it. You start thinking about what it would look like to take back what's yours. I wasn't saying I had a full plan yet, but the idea was there. I started keeping receipts for a reason. I started saying no for a reason. I stopped trying to make peace for a reason. And when they started ramping up, the wedding coming closer, Carson needing stuff, Dad asking for help again, I knew what I was going to do next. That's where it gets real. Trust me, they had no clue what was coming. He's got some calendar and contacts stuff I set up for him about 3 years ago, and now he keeps texting me because everything's out of sync on his phone. He says, "You need to fix this before I miss something important." I tell him to call tech support. He goes, "You are tech support." So, I just leave him on read. Here's the thing. I finally realized how dependent they are on me for all those annoying little things they never wanted to learn. They talk a big game, but when push comes to shove, I'm the one who set up their Wi-Fi, connected their smart home devices, programmed their streaming apps, built their group playlists, even handled password resets for their dumb email accounts. They act like it's nothing, but it all takes time, and I know where all the skeletons are buried. So I started pulling away, but not just that. I decided to make it clear. First, I gathered all the tools they left at my place into a box and texted the family. Group chat. "Last call on these, picking up or tossing." Carson said, "Just bring them, I'll pay gas." I told him, "Come get them yourself." He pushed. I said, "No." He got mad and called me soft. Dad chimed in, saying, "You're being petty." I said, "You left them at my place for 3 years, not my problem." Nicole's wedding website started acting up. Her fault. She changed some settings, and now she's texting me in all caps. I told her, "I'll fix it, when I have time." She said, "Your attitude is ruining my wedding." I said, "Maybe ask someone else." She tried to guilt trip me, saying I was letting the family down. I sent her a thumbs up emoji. She called me. I didn't answer. The next day, she showed up at my door, banging until I opened. She started yelling, accusing me of sabotaging her big day. I told her to get off my porch. She tried to push past me, so I blocked the door with my foot. She slapped my arm. I pushed her back. She screamed, "You're dead to me," then stomped off and slammed her car door. Dad called later, ranting about respect, loyalty, and how I'm embarrassing the family. I didn't let him finish. I hung up. Carson texted, "Bro, you're being crazy." I didn't answer. Then I got a string of missed calls, so I muted my phone. Then I started actually pulling the plug, not just ignoring them, but actively undoing everything I'd set up. I logged into all the accounts where I'm admin and removed myself. Changed passwords on everything in my name, telling them, "If you want access, set it up yourselves." Deleted myself from their group subscriptions I'd been paying for out of habit. Reset the Wi-Fi routers I'd bought them years ago, texted the new login info to the family chat, then logged out for good. I sent Carson a calendar invite to pick up the tools or lose them. He didn't show, so I sold the whole box on Facebook Marketplace for $50. He called me screaming. I let it go to voicemail. Nicole's wedding site finally crashed. She lost her RSVP list. She texted nonstop, threatened to come over again. I blocked her number. Mom texted saying I was causing drama and should apologize. I didn't answer. The best part? I know how much they rely on all this. Dad can't access his contacts or calendar anymore. Carson's backyard project's on hold because he can't find good help. Nicole's wedding is chaos. Her registry is down and half her guests can't find the location. They all start blowing up the group chat, blaming each other, blaming me, demanding I fix it. I don't say a word. A few days later, I saw Carson at a gas station. He walked up, trying to act tough, saying I'm ruining everything for no reason. I told him, "You made your choices. Now deal with it." He tried to shove me. I shoved back. He called me a loser. I told him to grow up. He stormed off, slammed his car door, and peeled out. It's wild how fast they switch, from acting like you're worthless to acting like you're essential when things break down. I started getting texts from people I barely know. Nicole's friends, Carson's girlfriend, even Mom's book club buddy, asking if I could help. I ignored them all. It's not about the tech, the tools, or the stupid wedding. It's about them needing me and never wanting to admit it. Now they finally see what it's like when I'm not there to clean up their mess. They're not stupid, but they're so used to me being the fall guy they never saw it coming. At the end of the day, I don't feel bad. Not even a little. They lit the match, I just let the fire burn out. Next part is basically the fallout. Desperate calls, texts, even showing up at my place. It gets louder. Not my problem. Let me know if you're still here. This part actually made me laugh. Final update. I figured when things started falling, apart for them, they'd just ignore it like always or try to fix it themselves and act like they never needed me. But no, it didn't go down like that. What really shocked me was how fast it all hit. Once one thing broke, the dominoes started falling, and the desperation was wild. I still laugh about it sometimes. First weird thing I noticed was my phone blowing up early one morning. Not just a few texts, but legit over 40 notifications, missed calls, voicemails, even Facebook messages from people I hadn't talked to since high school. I checked. It was all my family plus a bunch of randoms, even Nicole's fiancé. The group chat was total chaos. Carson was tagging everyone, saying stuff like, "Braden, you need to fix this now." Dad was saying, "This is out of hand. Call me ASAP." Nicole was in full meltdown mode, caps lock, exclamation points everywhere. It took me a second to figure out what the emergency was because it was endless scrolling. I was just sitting there making coffee, scrolling through messages. Dad sent 4 voicemails in a row, all basically the same. He couldn't get into his email. His calendar was wiped. He had meetings he couldn't reschedule and was missing calls because his contacts were gone. Carson was losing it because his home Wi-Fi was down and he couldn't work. He said the whole family playlist disappeared from his phone. Nicole was on another level, sending screenshots of her missing guest list, her registry broken, and her friends mad at her. Her fiancé was texting me, begging me to sort it out. I let it sit for a bit, scrolling TikTok and eating cereal, waiting to see if they'd give up. They didn't. The group chat went from angry to desperate. Nicole said, "You are ruining my life on purpose." Dad tried the guilt trip, saying, "This is family business, you need to step up." Carson threatened to drive over to settle it. I just put my phone on silent. By noon, Mom showed up at my door, which I should have expected, but didn't. She was knocking and calling my name, saying, "We just need to talk. Just come outside." I opened the door a crack. She said, "Don't do this. They're all losing it." "Why can't you just fix it?" I told her, "I'm done. I told everyone I'm done. They're on their own." She tried to step inside. I blocked the door. She sighed, patted my shoulder. I pulled back. She turned and left, slamming the car door. About an hour later, Carson actually showed up. He was furious. He came right up, yelling from the porch, "I'm being a child. This is all my fault. Nobody else would do this to their family." I told him to leave. He pushed past me. I shoved him down the steps. He tried to slap my arm. I blocked him. He kicked at the doorframe, cursed at me, then stormed back to his car and sat there for 10 minutes before peeling out. Nicole tried calling me on every app she could think of: Snapchat, Instagram, Telegram. I blocked her everywhere. She left voicemails, crying and swearing, then called back with her fiancé yelling in the background. I didn't pick up. Later, I got a text from one of her friends. "You're being really unfair. You're ruining everything for Nicole." I blocked her too. I heard from a cousin that Dad's business was tanking. He was missing appointments and had to reschedule last minute because his contacts were a mess, and no one could figure out the system I set up. Carson's girlfriend posted on her story about people sabotaging family and tagged me. I replied with a fire emoji and blocked her too. The group chat became a nonstop wall of messages, all caps, all day, every day. "You have to fix this. Pick up. You're destroying the family. You're selfish. You're cursed." And on and on. The funniest part? They tried to get other people to talk to me. An uncle I hadn't seen in years, a family friend from church, even Mom's book club lady. I ignored all of them. I wasn't getting guilted back in. I saw Carson one more time. He tried to block my path, saying, "Just fix it and we'll forgive you." I laughed and kept walking. He grabbed my arm. I shrugged him off. He muttered something about never talking to me again. I said, "Good," and walked out. The only one who sort of gets it is Mom. She called one more time, left a voicemail that was mostly silence, then said, "I hope you're happy. You got what you wanted." I deleted it. Now it's just quiet. I still get random calls, get blocked and unblocked, and occasional guilt trip messages. But I'm out. They're on their own. I'm not swooping in to save anyone. Not after what they did. If you've read all this, I guess you get why I did what I did. I'm not sorry. I'm not fixing anything. They wanted me out. Now they see what that really means. I'm not saying I won. Life's not perfect. But at least I finally stopped playing their game. They're still calling, yelling, begging. Not my problem. I'm good. Thanks to everyone who stuck with the updates. Sometimes walking away is the only real move you get. If you've ever been the scapegoat and finally fought back, I see you. I'll be chilling, blocking numbers, living rent-free in their heads,